Ohayou gozaimasu. Krista desu. This is going to be the video for lesson 14. We're going to be going over the vocab, the kanji, the grammar notes that are in Canvas, and the class notes in Canvas, as well as the chapters overall in the Rikai and Katsudo textbook. I know usually I start off with the Rikai textbook, but today we're going to be starting off with the Katsudo textbook. Just the first page of the chapter. So in the Katsudo textbook, let's go to page 110. I'm just going to be going down the line and reading each of the vocab words first because it's a good instance of the Marugoto textbooks actually having the vocab in one spot. Mostly the main vocab words. So number one, it's shacho. Shacho is president. Number two, it's hisho. Hisho. Hisho is secretary. Number three is doraiba, driver. Four is uketsuke. Uketsuke is receptionist. Five is jimu no sutafu. So that's the office staff. So jimu is a way to say office. And then stafu is staff. Six is computer or pascon. So pascon and computer mean computer. Seven is hakusu. It's a bit difficult to pronounce. Hakusu is fax. Eight is kopiki. So kopiki is the copier. A copy of something is just going to be kopi. 9 is karimasu, which means to borrow something. 10 is tsukaimasu, which means to use. 11 is kopi shimasu. So shimasu is to do, copy. So please make a copy of something basically. 12 is porinto auto shimasu. So shimasu is to do, porinto auto is a printout. So like kind of like a sheet of something. So you print something out and it's called a printout. 13 is kokusai denwa o shimasu. So kokusai is international, denwa is a telephone. So basically it's an international call. Let's see, might as well just go over the rest, whatever's in the Katsudo textbook. If there's any vocab that I have written down. On page 113, there's a conversation between Taira-san and someone else. So the first one is the purple text box. It says Taira-san, mi o kuri, which is like when you send someone off. So mi o kuri is send off. Arigatou gozaimashita. So thank you very much for sending me off. Osewa ni narimashita. So osewa is like welcome. And then Taira-san says back, Ie, honsha no minasan ni yoroshiku otsutae kudasai. So at the main office, everyone, minasan, which is everyone, yoroshiku otsutae kudasai, which means give my best regards. And then they respond back, wakarimashita, I understand. Soreja mata. So soreja is like well, or like now that that's taken care of, move on to this. And mata is like kind of like see you later, or like until next time. And then Taira-san says back, kore wa Eduardo-san kara desu. So kore is like this, and he's just saying kind of like give this to Edward-san. So that's the only thing in the Katsudo textbook that's really not in the Rikai textbook. So let's move back to the Rikai textbook, the orange one, and go to page 128. We're going to be looking at some more vocab words that was not in the Katsudo textbook. Okay, so A says ohisu, which means office. So it's another way to say office, other than saying, what was it? It was another way to say office, I believe was jimu. Jimu. So jimu and office, ohisu, mean office. Okay, and then B is door. Okay, C is denki, which means light or electricity. D is mado, which is window. Okay, and then we did computer and pascon, we did the copier. G is cabinetto, so a cabinet. And then we did fax, and then we did I, J, K, and L already. All right, and then looking at the next page, 129, or it says A and B at the top of the page. So right here, A says tsukemasu, which means to turn something on, and keshimasu means to turn something off. So like a light switch, you turn it on, tsukemasu, turn it off, keshimasu. Okay, and then B is when you open and close something. Open is agemasu, you open the door, agemasu. You close the door, shimemasu, shimemasu. Okay, then let's look at the kanji on page 129 here at the bottom. Jibun, which means myself. Denwa, which means telephone. Denki, which means electricity or light. Densha, which means train. Kuruma, which means car. Okurimasu, which means to send. Tsukaimasu, which means to use. Karimasu, which means to borrow. Tsukemasu can also, tsukemasu can, it means to turn on. It could also mean to put something on. So it just has to do with the general, like, act of something being on. Okay, and looking at the rest of these examples, I don't think there's any words that we need to go over. I believe we went over the word for international, but if I didn't, it's kokusai, which is international. And I believe I was doing something with the Marigoto website, and pera pera, which is written in hiragana, means fluent. So pera pera, P-E-R-A, pera pera, fluent. Okay, and then looking at page 130, looking at the example text up at the top, these three people right next to it. It says Tanaka-san, kochira, which is like over here or like this. Kochira wa hisha, hisho, which can mean subject. Hisho can also mean subject as well as secretary. So hisho no kyashi-san desu. Yeah, which, yeah. So hisho could be secretary or subject. So in this case, it's talking about the secretary, Kathy. And then the third line down, it says kochira koso, which is like likewise. So they say kochira koso douzo yoroshiku. So likewise, it's good to meet you. And then the next line down, it says kashi-san wa nihongo ga jouzu desu yo. So jouzu, which means you're good at something. Okay. And then we're going to go on to the first concept because there's nothing else in that text that we need to go over really. So this one's going to have to do with time. So this is expressing how much time has passed since the action or state of something began. So this, you're going to have a verb, put it in te form. You're going to use nen, which is year, or you're going to use kagetsu, which is months, ni narimasu. You could technically, you could use other forms of time. You could use days, you could use weeks. Just depends on what you want to say, basically. So remember to put your verbs in te form. There's some examples of how to do te form right below that once again. But we're going to be looking at the examples that Imho Sensei has on Canvas because those are better than the ones that I have right here. Okay, so remember, put your verb in te form. You can use years, you could use months, you could use weeks, you could use days. Doesn't matter which one you use as long as it makes sense in the sentence that you're making. And yeah, okay. So remember, it is verb te, inen, ni narimasu, or it's verb in te form, ga getsu ni narimasu. Okay, so the first example is Nihongo no benkyou o hajimete 1年 ni narimasu. So you have been studying Japanese, or sorry, so hajimete is like the first time. So you first started studying Japanese a year ago. So I've been studying 1 year. It's been 1 year since I started studying Japanese. Okay. 日本に来て3ヶ月になります。So it's been 3 months since you came to Japan. Yeah, so it's been 3 months since you came to Japan. So you could use this with weeks, is like the more frequent of what I have seen this been used as, other than using days. But more often than not, you'll see it with either years or with months. Okay, so let's go back to the textbook. Okay, and then look at the examples right below the first concept. So the first example says, 10年前にこの会社に入りました。So it's been 10 years since you started working at this company. Okay, and then looking at the third example, it says 5月前に日本語コースに入りました。So コース is course, so Japanese course. And I think the last one, right before the very last phrase where it says sundeimasu, so right here, it says zutto, and zutto means always. Okay, let's see. And then we're going to turn the page, go to page 132. At the little reading thing at the top with the person giving the other person a pen, the first line, it says, ちょっとペンを借りてもいいですか? So pen is pen, and he's asking if it's okay to borrow the pen. And the other words we already know already. So let's go to the next concept is 見てもいいですか? So there are two things with this. You can either do a verb, which is verb てもいいですか? So you're going to be putting the verb in te form. もいいですか after that. If you're doing a noun, it is going to be でもいいですか? Verb てもいいですか? Noun でもいいですか? So this concept has to do with asking permission for something. And then right below that, it has the examples for how to conjugate back into te form. I'll go through them really quickly. Kakimasu means to write, which turns into kaite. Keshimasu means to erase or turn off. Keshite. Suwarimasu means to sit, which turns into suwatte. Tsukaimasu, which means to use, turns into tsukatte. Hairimasu, which means to enter, turns into haite. Moroimasu, which means to receive, turns into moratte. Yeah, moraimasu turns into moratte. Karimasu, which means to borrow, is karite. Miimasu turns into mite. Agemasu, which means to open, is agete. Shimemasu, which means to close, is shimete. Tsukemasu, which means to open. Sorry, no. Tsukemasu. Tsukemasu means to turn on or to put on something or to include something. Turns into tsukete. Hajimemasu, which means to like the first time for something. Turns into hajimete. And then shimasu turns into shite. Okay, so those are all those verbs. Remember, you can use verb temo ii desu ka or noun demo ii desu ka. Okay, and then we're going to be looking at Sensei's examples really quick. Okay, so when you're asking for permission to something, here are the examples. Sumemasen, haite mo ii desu ka? Excuse me, may I enter or may I come in? And then someone will respond, hai, dozo. It's like, hi, or yes, please do come in. Okay, when you allow something to be done after being asked, you can either reply with hai, hai ii desu ka, or hai ii desu, hai dozo, or hai onegai shimasu. If you don't want to allow something to be done, reply with either ie, ie chotto, or sumimasen. Okay, hopefully that kind of helps a little bit with that concept. It's a pretty easy concept to do because it's just a simple request. It's not like a long sentence. And then we're going to be looking at the next page, 133 in the Rikai textbook. Just some words that we haven't gone over. The third circle, it says kono hairu o mimasu. Turn that into demo ii desu. Hairu is file. Number 4 is kono panhoreto. And then the rest of the sentence. Panhoreto is pamphlet. And I believe that's all the vocab words for right there. Yes, so that's the end of the textbook. Pretty easy chapter. And then we'll go over the last thing that Sensei had on here, which is the overall. So that's the temo ii desu ka, te imasu, which is present continuous form of a sentence. Time, or so something in te form. Time ni narimasu, which is expressing how much time has passed since an action. So let's look at this first one. Place ni donna hito ga ii desu ka? So donna is like a type of or kind. What type of person? What type of person is at said place? And then you would respond, blank ga ii desu. So this type of person is good for this type of place. Place ni nani ga arimasu ka? So what is at this place? And you say, oh, this ga arimasu. So this thing is at this place. Okay, and then temo ii desu ka? Is it okay to do this or may I? So here's some examples. Kono ringo wa tabete mo ii desu ka? Tabete mo ii desu ka? So this apple, is it okay to eat it? Is it okay to eat this apple? Sono mizu o nonde mo ii desu ka? So not only is it going to be the nouns that uses demo ii desu ka, whatever you're putting into te form, that's going to be it. It's not always going to be temo I. It's just whatever it is in te form. So this water, is it okay to drink it? Is it okay to drink this water? あの人、あの人と話してでもいいです。話してもいいですか? So, is it okay to speak to this person or that person? Okay, and then this just goes over te imasu again. So this is koware te imasu. It is broken. So that the dictionary form, which is kowareru, turns into kowaremasu, turns into kowarete. Okay, and then the second example is T-shatsu o kite imasu. So kiru means to wear. So you're wearing a t-shirt. So kiru turns into kimasu, turns into kite. Kite imasu. So it's kind of like a continuous action. That's what te imasu is used for typically. And then there's some more examples. So currently, which is what te imasu is going to be used for, is kekkon shite imasu. So kekkon is marriage, shite is to do. So you're currently getting married. Kekkon shimasu is just in the future you will get married, essentially. Kekkon shimashita is you were married in the past. Kekkon shite imashita is at the time, but not anymore. So the continuous action, so it turns from something currently to at the time, but not anymore because it's in the past. You were married. Kekkon shita koto ga arimasu. Remember, koto is used for when you have an experience for something. So you have experience with being married. Okay, and then here's another example of how to conjugate all of these. Nihon ni sunde imasu. So remember, this is te imasu, but since this is to live is going to end with nde because in te form it's nde for that word. It's going to be sunde imasu, which is you are currently doing something. It's a continuous action. You live in Japan. Nihon ni sumimasu. So you in the future will live in Japan. Nihon ni sumimashita. So in the past you lived in Japan. Nihon ni sunde imashita. So at the time you did live in Japan, but not anymore. And Nihon ni sunda koto ga arimasu. Remember, you're putting koto as koto is for an experience. You're putting that into ta or da form. So it's instead of sunde, it's sunda koto ga arimasu. Okay, and then here are all the months and how to say them. So 1 month is 1ヶ月, 2 months is 2ヶ月, 3ヶ月, 4ヶ月, 5ヶ月, 6ヶ月, 7ヶ月, 8ヶ月 or 8ヶ月, 9ヶ月, 10ヶ月, 11ヶ月, 12ヶ月. So kind of the special ones are 1ヶ月, 6ヶ月. There's 2 ways to say 7, but it's still one of the main ways, but you could technically say this is a special one. 7ヶ月, and then so 8 has 2 different ways to say it. 8ヶ月, which is normal, or 8ヶ月. And then the last weird one is 11ヶ月. Okay, and then so that's that ties back to the year and month thing that we talked about a little bit ago. Yes, trying to find it in here. Yep, so it's the verb te in te form, the year, or kagetsu ni narimasu. So how much is time since an action has occurred or a state has been. Okay, and then the last one is te, something in te form, so the verb in te form, time ni narimasu, expressing how much time has passed since an action. Here are some examples. Orlando ni Orlando, sunde, so to live. 3年 になります. So 3 years. So you've lived in Orlando for 3 years. 日本語を勉強して, so you study Japanese. 5ヶ月になります. So you're studying words. How much time has passed since the action? The action is studying Japanese. It's been 5 months since you started studying Japanese. Okay, and then この会社に入って, so you've been at this specific company for 1週間 になります. So this is 1 week. So this is what I was talking about earlier about it doesn't necessarily have to be months or years. It could be weeks or days. So 1週間になります. So you've entered, so 入って, which is 入る, means to enter. So you've entered a company about a week ago. So you've been in a company for about a week. Okay, so I believe that is all of lesson 14. I don't think I missed anything, but if I did, or if you have any questions, just let me know and I will try to answer them. Or you can reach out to Imhoff Sensei or Andrea-san and we will help you. Have a great day. Sayonara.